The traditional model of education is based on preparing students for an industrial world where every person gets slotted into a particular place where they know one discipline, and you'd settle in and you'd find the right place, and that's what you do for the next 30 years. But here's the reality. On average, people today are changing jobs every 3 years. And even if you're not changing jobs, your job is changing. If there's one constant about this fast-paced, wild world that we live in today, it's change. So now the question becomes, do we have schools that are preparing our children for that?
Yeshiva Lab School is a school that's founded on what we know about how children learn, where we take research-driven ideas about education and we implement them. Our goal is to get children ready for the real world and the world that they're headed to.
We bring the children in, we start with them. Their academic program, their social emotional program is really being tailored for that child, for who that child is.
We're constantly assessing children to find out where they're starting now on our continuum of skills, and then we're picking that next skill and that next thing that we have to work with them on.
This approach is going to fit a large spectrum of children and a large need for many different types of children.
It allows us to find that spot that's just a little bit challenging for them. That amazing feeling of accomplishment that comes makes them want to be learning more.
When you design a curriculum around a child, you don't see a child at the end of the day that's worn out. You see a child that's eager for more. Instead of looking at my child as what grade they're in and what skills they're supposed to learn for that grade, they're really trying to think about what's my child's potential, not just the potential that's limited by a given grade level.
Children develop at very different rates. In a multi-age classroom, you can tap into the amount that they can learn.
Our younger students are supported and have all of these big brothers and big sisters to help them every time they do something new.
I have seen children in this classroom teach other children to read.
Our first graders are having this incredible opportunity where they get to be leaders and role models.
The learning happens faster and it happens far more naturally.
One of the things I struggled with as a child in school was sitting in school all day long.
Look at your children at home. Do they sit for 3 or 4 hours? It's not developmentally appropriate to expect children pretty much through middle school to be sitting still in a chair and listening and being passive receivers of information.
We as adults don't learn by sitting at a desk. We learn by hands-on experiences.
I love seeing my son laying on the floor with a pen in his hand and a paper on the floor. Let the child figure out how they work best.
We have straight chairs, we have rocking chairs, and we have triangular tables. We're constantly changing the configurations of our learning. It's almost like the furniture becomes a metaphor that our learning is fluid, that our learning is going to adapt to the children and it's going to adapt to the lessons.
We're designing a learning space. We want to have a conversation with children. And our classroom has monkey bars in it. What do children this age need? It's something that they can learn to build resilience and perseverance on.
That's not there as a toy, that's there as a developmental tool.
Another thing that's unique is our store. All it has in it that we've put in it is some play money. The students create everything else that's in it.
It feels like this is the children's space.
Another unique space in our classroom is our theater. Children design their own set, and they create their own costumes, and then they design and create elaborate dramatic plays. They're constantly going to the writing centers to get materials, to create things and write things and color and draw and to play a board game, to go with the iPads. We use iPads very purposefully. One way we use them is to create personalized learning experiences for children that is adaptive to children's reading levels and that helps them grow. Another way we use our iPads is they all have digital portfolios. And this is a great way for them to build their metacognition and choice. The digital portfolios become a tremendous tool that they then use when they run their student-led conferences with their parents.
Rafi had prepared for this conference. He had printed out some pictures. He had shown what progress he made, and he was encouraged to set goals for the next year.
Yes, it's a more involved learning process. Students are doing a lot of hands-on things.
They're really inculcating an attitude and a worldview that will make them successful at whatever they choose to do.
My husband and I were looking for a modern Orthodox day school that was unabashedly Torah Umada, Ivrit, a more kind of open approach to learning.
Part of that is their spiritual growth, spending really dedicated time talking about their relationship with God and their observance of mitzvot and their doing of chesed and building their midot.
Judaic studies is happening together with general studies. So at the lab school, we've done away with the model of half a day of Judaic studies and half a day of general studies.
Torah values are instilled everywhere.
And having a religious identity that is both committed to halacha but engaging with the modern world, that to me is of immense value.
Building in Aron Kodesh involves math, and it involves physics and engineering, and it involves Torah.
My son Rafi just loves learning.
The excitement with which not only she goes to school, but also comes home from school.
He loves going to school. To say to me, when school is over at the end of the year last year, I wish we had school in the summer. I mean, that I don't think I ever had before.
Our goal is to break the mold and start asking ourselves, what ought a school look like?
If you're looking for a place that will engage your child, that will constantly look for opportunities to infuse them secularly and Judaically, this should be an option for you.